Welcome all to IOPSA's Health and Safety Talks. In today's lesson, we will be talking about the importance of PPE clothing. PPE. Where practical, exposures to hazards must be restricted, but where this is not possible. The employer must provide, and the employee must use, appropriate personal protective equipment. A comprehensive risk assessment will identify the type of protection equipment required. The purpose of personal protective equipment is to ensure that optimum protection is provided to the persons performing any operation which has the potential cause of injury. Eye protection. Eye protection is essential as the eye is vulnerable to any flying pieces of metal or concrete when chasing, etc. There are three types of eye protection that should be worn. Eye protection is essential as the eye is vulnerable to any flying pieces of metal or concrete when chasing, etc. There are three types of eye protection that should be worn. Face shield if there is large particles flying in the air. Safety goggles, the most common type. This protects from splinters as well as dust, fumes, and sparks. Welding goggles. These are tinted for welding purposes. Only eye and face protective systems which comply with the recognized safety standards SAS, BS, ANS, etc. should be issued and used. Normal spectacles may be worn provided the lenses have been toughened with safety glass and provided with side shields. Head protection. Hard hats are often compulsory on construction sites to prevent head injuries. Hard hats are made from hard plastic with a safety harness inside. The safety harness provides a sufficient gap between the hat and your head. The wearing of head protection is normally mandatory on any construction project. The wearing of balaclavas or any other item under hard hats decrease and in some cases negate the effectiveness of the hard hat. Be aware, take care. Importance of ear protection. Noise-induced hearing loss regulations stipulate controls and monitoring requirements at any workplace where any person may be exposed to noise levels above the noise rating limit. There are two common forms of hearing protection, namely earplugs and earmuffs. All hearing protection is graded according to the amount of noise reduction they offer, so be aware of the correct grading for the amount of noise in the area. Due to the nature of construction work, it may be difficult to identify tasks and/or situations which pose noise hazards. A general guideline is where normal communication is difficult. For example, you need to shout to communicate, then the noise rating limit may have been exceeded. Persons who are continuously exposed to tasks identified to have noise levels exceeding 85 decibels are required to undergo audiometric screening to determine an audiometric baseline. Thereafter, annual testing may be required to monitor the status of that person's hearing. Foot protection. The nature of the work being performed should determine the need for the steel toe cap safety footwear. The wearing of safety footwear will be identified in a risk assessment or may be specified mandatory requirement on a project or a client requirement. In most cases, safety footwear is the sensible option on construction sites because of the nature of the work performed there. Hand protection. Suitable hand protection must be issued and used by any person who is required to carry out a task which has potential for hand injuries. Tasks include welding, gas cutting, and brazing objects. Only hand protection which complies with recognized safety standards, SAS, BS, ANS, etc., should be issued and worn. In instances where a person is required to handle any sharp or heavy metal object or rough wooden object, they should be supplied with and use suitable hand protection. Protective clothing All artisans and laborers should be supplied with suitable protective clothing that is of high visibility. For example, bright jackets with reflective strips. This is to ensure that they are easily seen, which in turn minimizes risk. Only protective clothing which complies with the recognized safety standards, SANS, BS, ANS, etc., should be issued and worn. Respiratory protection. Dust, chemical, and paint fumes are all dangerous to your health. Being in the plumbing industry, these are common products that you will come into contact with on a day-to-day basis. Some respirators only cover your mouth and nose, while others form a very tight seal around your mouth and nose. Wear the correct respirator for the job. Be aware. Take care. That concludes our health and safety lesson. Thank you for watching this critical industry. Remember, be aware. Take care. For more videos, lessons, webinars, and resources on health and safety, go to the IOPSA website at www.iopsa.org or www.plumbershop.org or contact Kayla on 08610 Plumber.